Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is February 26th, not March. My name is Maj and I'll be your host today. I have one quick announcement before we jump over to the main topics. The code freeze is March 5th. From what I was checking earlier today, which basically means we have about 2 weeks from tomorrow to merge our fixes. If you are waiting for reviews from myself, Sean, or anyone from the SIG, make sure to ping them on Slack. I do remember that I owe at least debug and events reviews, and I'll hope to get to this either later today or tomorrow. But make sure you get the attention of the people that are responsible for your reviews, so that you can gather the feedback and address it before the feature freeze is effective. Sorry. Does anyone else have any other announcements, Sean?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, cool. With that, I think we can move over to the main topics. The first one, I'm not going to open the links because I'm on a crappy mobile internet, so it'll take ages to load already. The gist is basically that if we do kubectl describe a resource, not always, but oftentimes we are fetching additional information for resources. In that particular case that I linked here, it was about services and endpoints and backends as well. And somebody was trying to figure out whether we should be putting a partial errors, which basically means if I'm filling in the describe for a particular resource and I fail to, for example, load events or fail to load some partial information about the resource. So far, the approach that we've been taking is we will just print nothing in that place. There has been some ideas that maybe we should be giving some information about that we encountered error, retrieving that additional information. So instead of having empty value, you'll see a short error message. And I was curious what other folks in the SIG CLI think about the approach before we take one or the other on get agreement across the board so that we can apply them across all of the describe command. Any opinions, objections?
Sorry, I'm just reading the issues. So the issue is that, sorry, I didn't totally get that. If the issue is that when it's fetching data for the other things, there may be errors with fetching that data, or?
Yeah, that is exactly what the problem is. If you encounter an error fetching the additional information, like the simplest use case is every single resource that we describe has events attached to it usually. So if we fail retrieving the resources, we'll print a short information. It doesn't mean that there's no events, but it means that there was an issue, and we can additionally print what kind of information. Currently, the approach that we are taking across the board is we just silently ignore the errors. And there was a proposal, and I think Antoine was vouching for having the partial errors so that you have the feedback about whether it is empty or it actually failed. Currently, it's hard to state whether it failed fetching or it is actually empty.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, we have to make sure that there's a good way of printing the information for one of these partial errors. So maybe the goal should be that if the information is optional, then each individual describe function could have a way of not displaying that information and then instead displaying in the error in its place, but displaying the rest of it. I think some of the information, right, is going to be not optional, right? If you fail to fetch the thing you're describing, for instance, that would be not optional. And then I guess like if you're describing a node and you fail to fetch some of the pods but not others, for instance, do you throw an error and show none of the like summary information? Or it's probably, there's probably going to be a lot of case by case basis, so like it's probably going to be for specific ones like ingress would seem like a reasonable goal, and for others like deployment we should just leave it the way it is until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. I mean, there's also other problem that is somewhat connected with this scribe, is that in the current way, when we print the resource, you might get information about difference between status and a spec, and that is coming not an error on the server, but the fact that you just stumbled upon in the middle of the reconciliation loop in the controller. But currently, the way we print the resources, we don't print the additional information that your current state does not reflect the spec of your deployment. We have that information because most of the controllers have observed generation versus the generation inside of a spec of a resource. But we don't expose that information when you do OC-get, for example, deployment. So you might stumble upon an incorrect state of a resource, which is not incorrect, is that you don't have the full information presented correctly in the get description.
And the other thing we can do is the two examples listed seem, my quick read of them is that it's like fixable. Something about annotations not being sorted, and looking through them, some of the comments, it seems like the code could be fixed to not encounter this error. And those are both the two issues linked are the same one. So, and I'm not opposed to creating the partial errors. You know, great. Essentially, it's better error handling. But we could also just fix maybe that. It might be possible to fix the one.
I mean, I'm also asking this in the light that at some point in time, hopefully within the next release or two, we will move the describe to the server, similarly to what we did with the server-side printing, because more and more people are coming to me asking, do we allow describing CRDs? Because the current generic describe is giving them partially okay-ish information and partially not that correct. And you know, instead of fixing that generic CRD describer, I would rather invest a little bit more time and move the descriptions onto the server. And especially that I remember that Clayton had some idea already. I need to sync with him and maybe just start putting it together and you know, submit a PR and get it fixed.
What do you think about this as a decision? For the cases where it makes sense, making a partial error, like don't completely ignore the error and find some way of returning it so it exits non-zero and prints like an error message, seems like a reasonable thing to do. let's not try and re-architect everything. Let's just like where this has been a problem. Sure, if anyone wants to fix it, they can. Like we'll accept PRs in this area, but the focus, I think, for maintainers of the SIG is going to be towards the long-term solution, which you just described.
Yeah, that will be the best goal. I mean, we will accept fixes, but we won't be actively working on it. Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with this approach. Cool. Okay, does anyone have any questions about this in that case? Okay, hearing none. So with that, we can move over to short overview of the multi-index proposal. Not sure if Alfred, you're here or someone else to talk about it.
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna give like a short overview of this. But yeah, so Amit and Cornelius recently approved the multi-index feature proposal. It's a lot like Brew Tap if there are any Homebrew users out there, so there's a lot of similarities there. I won't go into too much details about it. If anyone's curious, they can check out the feature proposal that's linked right here. And one of the main differences that I wanted to highlight is that we are not treating crew index as anything special, in that it can also be an index that can be removed at any point. And another custom index can replace it as like the default one, which is a little different from how Homebrew works. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into exactly everything in that proposal, but if anyone's curious, feel free to check it out, leave comments, whatever.
Yeah, one of the great things is that the way we currently planned it is such that it probably can be done without any user visible migration. So it can happen transparently in the background. So fingers crossed that nothing, no obstacle comes up there, but if it works, that would be really great. And yeah, the big plus here is that, I mean, decentralizing the index means that there may no longer be the need for a crew index. So we can discuss how crew index should continue. And at the same time, it gives companies a lot more flexibility to use crew to distribute plugins, internal plugins especially, because they can, well, basically distribute crew with a custom internal index, so which only provides their approved plugins. Yeah, and I think Chris did a great job there. So we're very happy to have him, and he's actively working on it.
Okay, cool. I haven't had a chance to look through the proposal itself. I've only seen shortly through the issue that was linked, I think, last time. I'll try to have a read through the proposal by the end of this week, and I'll leave my comments over there. Does anyone else have any questions for the multi-index? If not, I would recommend anyone that is interested in crew, and especially the multi-index support in crew, to have a look at the link proposal and leave the comments over there in that case, I guess. Okay. Moving on to the next topic, support generator options per resource and customize. Not sure if Jingfang is on the call or Jeff.
I put this one on.
Okay,
on the
go ahead.
agenda. So I've been, and I should probably throw another link in there.
It's good.
I've been starting to triage the customize PRs into a project where it's just like we can keep state on what are we considering, what's in progress, and what's being actively reviewed. And this is one of the PRs was for essentially having per generated object options. So Customize has the ability to define generator options like these are the annotations I want on the generated config map or labels or these sorts of things, right? But they are applied to all the generated config maps and secrets. And so this effectively is a PR contribution for a feature to allow them to also be specified on the generated resource itself. So you could have different generated, different annotations on different generated config maps and secrets. It looks, to me, it looks like a good contribution and one that I think makes sense. It does change the API surface area. And so I wanted to make sure that it was presented at the SIG so that we have a record of this API change being brought up. It's not breaking. It's just it's a small increase in API service area.
So I took a look at the PR. So it seems this is a feature request, a new feature of Customize. And I want to understand why they want to use the generator option per resource instead of use it globally. Because we can like reorganize the Customize folders and we can always split custom config map generator or secret generator into different customizations. So I want to understand why they want to put different config map secrets with different labels or annotations into the same customize. So if, I mean, just
Yeah, let me
document this motivation of doing this.
Yes, there is a issue linked. I don't know if maybe that is insufficient in terms of motivation. Did you get a chance to pull open the issue that's linked? Chance is on the line. He says he has bad mobile service. I can give my guess as to why Chance would want this because I support it. But let me see if Chance actually, I'm going to give Chance a second to pipe in if they happen to have good enough service.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I might drop out. So the main reason is some annotations are being used for.
All right, looks like Chance dropped out. I'll try and fill it in, and then if we're able to get Chance back on, then I'll let them speak for themselves. But the reason I think this makes sense is that the need to apply different annotations or different labels to different config maps, I think is not particularly controversial, Jingfeng. I think your point was that it is possible to achieve this end result in Customize today by creating, say, 2 customization files with different generator options.
Yes.
Right. So, and then have those composed, right? And my argument against that is it really increases the complexity. Like imagine the case where you want to generate 6 config maps or secrets, and each has an annotation that describes something about it, right? Like this, the reason it is generated or something like that. That would seem reasonable, right?
Okay.
And so the approach today is you would have to create 7 customization files in like 7 different directories, right? So you have to create 7 directories with 7 customization files. And then to achieve that, right? As opposed to just having 7 lines in a single file. And that seems like not a desirable representation of that data to me.
Okay. So if we support resource level generator options, then how about the global one? Shall we deprecate only allow the
No,
resource level 1?
I don't think we should deprecate them. I mean, we have examples. So I think we have patches that can be applied to multiple resources now, right?
Yes.
Right. So I think of it this kind of along those same lines. Like, should we deprecate having patches that only apply to one resource? No. Like, that makes sense. Should we deprecate having patches that apply to multiple resources? No, I think that makes sense too.
Okay, so this one can still give us a global control of the generated resource labels and annotations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I think that makes perfect sense as well. I want to annotate all my config maps with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Still makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
think-
a question. Can you
Yeah.
mix the per resource with the global one? I mean, I want to have all config maps have this particular annotation, but additionally that one particular one will have this extra one.
That's a great question, right? Like, if you create a global set of options, so you add an annotation to everything, and then you create a per resource one, does it get the union of those options where it has
Yeah,
labels for
exactly.
both? And
Or you
so,
have an option to specify this, I mean, specify what type of, whether it's a union or do not apply global in case it's
or
a
override.
per resource, or yeah, something like that. I mean, override I could see override by default means
Yeah.
something with per resource will take over always precedence over the global ones. So if you're setting the same annotation in both, the one from per resource would take precedence. Oh, we're override basically the global one. But it's more about the case where I don't want to sum. I don't care about the union.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm adding comment to the PR to that effect. And effectively, I think what you said is it would be nice to be able to control on a per resource basis what the behavior with respect to the global is and have some same default.
Yeah, other than that, I really like the proposal, and the implementation is very clean. So I'm all in favor.
Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like we have consensus here. I'll send an email out to the SIG CLI list just to capture a slightly wider net, but we've discussed this here and have the PR out. And there don't seem to be any injections with the intention or concept, but we would like to nail down a couple of the implementation details.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Okay, does this customize projects too is part of the, let me quickly check with the link. Oh, okay, that's related with the generator. Okay, so I guess that's all of the topics, unless anyone have any last minute topic that I want to add to the agenda. Okay, I'm hearing none. Let's move on to the stand-ups in that case. Crew, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Martin. Yeah. So the first item I moved down from the topics because it's actually already reviewed. So, but I was just want to mention what it's about. So we added a new section for kubectl plugins and crew in the Git book for kubectl. And also a short notice in the kubectl plugin command, how to best discover and work with plugins, meaning a pointer to where to install crew, basically. Yeah, so test runs, the tests are not yet completely green, but hopefully it'll be mergeable soon. Yeah, and if you have any suggestions where this section should be moved to, if you have opinions there, then just let me know. Then also about outreach for crew. Ahmed and I plan to do a small blog series about crew on the Kubernetes blog, on the main blog. And the first one of those has been sitting ready basically from our side for a while now. It's been language reviewed, but none of the technical people has had a look at it. So I just wanted to know if there's, how should I raise attention to this? Is there a process?
Honestly, I have no idea, but I can definitely check from the technical point of view at the pull
Okay,
request.
so then I simply ping the blog people again, and
Yeah.
we'll see if anything happens.
Yeah, I guess so. That's probably the best option.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You said you had a PR out for the Git book as well?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Okay. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, maybe add a hold on the PR if you want to have if you want to make changes to.
At a what?
I already approved the PR earlier today, so if you want to leave some comments, put it on hold so that it doesn't merge before you get a chance to review. This
I won't
is basically extending the kubectl book with links to crew, how to install it, how to use it, and additionally adds a one sentence when you invoke kubectl plugins, how you can get crew to match your plugins, and link to the docs.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to hold it. I'll review it, but I'm not going to hold it. If I have any comments, we can do it as a follow-up, or I'll fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool, thanks. By the way, big shout out to Maciej for reviewing this so quickly. So I made this PR later this afternoon, and it's already approved. So thanks.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
You were
in the
super,
same hour.
You were super lucky because I was looking through the emails, and I just stumbled upon yours. I was laughing in my head because there was like 33 minutes after you posted it. I'm super happy about the TTL on that one, but the usual one is much longer from my end.
Yeah, so highly appreciated. Thanks. Yeah, other than that, we also had a small release, 3.4. It's nothing big. We just had small improvements. Maybe something noteworthy is that crew now does an update check via the GitHub API to see if a new version of crew is available. So because we found out that many people are using quite old versions of crew and probably also of all the other plugins. And that way we can maybe encourage them more to update crew more regularly. And with that, all the other plugins. And yeah, finally, we're also on Slack now. So #crew, if you want to join, everybody's welcome. That's all from our side.
I should probably update my crew. I have no idea which version of crew I'm running, but I'm pretty sure it's an oldish one. I'll definitely do that one after the call. Koi, Nick.
Hey everyone, yeah. So we've our big goal for this first part of the year has been stabilizing the foundation, adding docs and all that. And so for the past 2 weeks, we've been shifting a lot of bespoke HTML code over to React componentry, and that work will be done by the end of today. And when that's done, we'll hopefully be able to lock down, from a development perspective, all of the APIs for writing GUI plugins and enhancing the visualizations and all that. So we're probably a few days out from the documentation, but the dev work on the componentry should be done by today. So that was long haul, but that's part of the, hopefully we're pretty close to having the stable foundation in terms of componentry and API docs and all that.
Okay, from myself, I'm planning to putting out, I have almost ready PR, which is a follow-up to removing kubectl run generators. I have a PR almost ready that will deprecate the generators flag within the create commands. I want to simplify the create as well in the long run. I still have another one cleaning the directory structure, but that got stuck a little bit over the past couple of weeks. So I'm hoping to return to this one either this week or the next one, most probably. Sean, can you give us an update on the split, and I'll have some follow-up for you with some maybe good news.
So there isn't any recent updates. We're still at the two remaining items, the convert, which is going to be its own binary, and the RBAC, which I don't have much visibility into.
Right. So with regards to RBAC, I was talking with SIGAuth earlier today. There is a chance, but I can't say how probable it will happen over the next couple of days or weeks, that the SIGAuth will be able to help us with splitting up the shared items between kubectl and API server that are RBAC specific, that are blocking us. So and I'm crossing my fingers hard, if everything goes well, we will get someone from SIGAuth, which makes the moves even simpler for them, because they know the code all too well. It'll be easier for them to split it and fix in both places, rather than us picking this up. But I'll keep you posted.
Who was it in SIGAuth? Was Jordan involved?
Mo is one of the SIG leads for
Okay.
SIGAuth. Earlier today.
So that's definitely the hardest remaining item. The convert actually should be straightforward in that it's just going to be an extra command.
Mm-hmm.
And everything for the convert will just be moved under that command. All of that's what I think might be the way to go. But actually, I don't think that creating a binary from convert is going to be a lot of work.
There's one thing that we could do right away. Do we have a deprecation notice within convert?
Convert had a deprecation notice for I think since 1.13.
Okay, that's good. If we do, then we're good on that front.
Yeah, so as long as there's one other item, the RBAC, we may as well try to do the best that we can with convert. But if convert ends up being the last item, we've deprecated it, we can actually just remove it.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything that they want to share with us, with the group?
This is Chance. I just wanted to check if there was a summary somewhere of the per resource generator options discussion that I missed.
Oh, hi, Chance. So in short, we decided that we will do whatever you propose, because it nicely follows what we want to do. You can rewatch the recording as soon as I upload it when I get home.
Okay.
There was one question from me, whether your current implementation, or how your current implementation handles the case where I have global options and then I have per resource options. Do they create a union, or do I have a control?
Right, yeah. It's definitely a union right now. But I can see the the desire to be able to do both. I think that would probably require like a bigger discussion, since I think like overriding makes like a bit, well, I was gonna say it would make it a little bit more complicated from just like understanding, but I guess it's no more complicated than merge and understanding it. So I think that would make sense.
I think there are three cases. One is override. The other one is union, which is override is a sort of union, kind of.
Right.
And the third one is I want to apply only the ones per resource. Do not apply the global ones.
Right.
I think it would be worthy, and from what we were talking with Phil, it would be worthy to figure out whether this kind of approach is feasible.
Yeah, go ahead. Since what you're describing is simply a superset of the existing API, and it's always easy to extend the API, but harder to change it once you've created it or restrict it, does it make sense just to take the PR as is and then create a follow-up issue for figuring out exactly what that part of the API would look like and what the options are?
That makes sense to me. As long as I think it would make sense to make sure what we do now really doesn't like cause problems with that, like whether or not we want the behavior to be default merge or default override. I err on the side of merging because I think that would be the most useful thing personally. That way you can best of both, where like you have an annotation set on all your config maps, and then one of your config maps just needs one more annotation, but that none of the other ones need. But I think we could discuss that in the PR, and that sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, with the default merge and then follow up would be, I think, the best approach.
Cool. And I wasn't sure if I heard somebody asking while I was on the road if there was like a use case in mind. I think I described that in the MR or the pull request as well. And I'd be glad to go over that if you guys want, but can totally do it outside of this context if it makes sense outside of the meeting.
I think we have consensus on the use case being a valid one.
Okay. Just making sure. Cool. Thanks.
Okay. If that's...
Maciej, do you agree? Do you feel strongly one way or the other about, initial PR has the toggle for what you do with the global versus follow-up?
I mean, if the initial PR would be always merge, which is what I would imagine being the default in the long run, then follow up with, the extended options is perfectly fine. Like Chen said, making sure that the default that we pick in the long run is the default that we currently have implemented, and then follow up as an extension mechanism. Yeah, that's like ideal, I would say.
Cool. Yeah, the default is merge. That's, as Chan said, the code also reflects that.
Okay, I'm perfectly fine with that in that case.
And when it comes to like how we document it and explain it to users, I'll probably just ask about how to go about that in the PR to just kind of wrap it up so that it's ready for merge.
Thank you so much for asking that question.
Oh yeah, docs are important.
We should figure out how to document this. I think there's like the way, like probably the way to do it is add an example and then go find where the API is described and then go update that. I think we've been discussing doing some docs overhaul on the customized site. And so just copying what we have today probably makes sense, and I can send you some links on that.
Cool. Sounds perfect. Thanks.
I just spotted, because I'm in an uncomfortable situation. I just spotted Bailey was asking about, does anyone here is involved or familiar with app control?
Jingfeng, you're involved and familiar with app control, right?
Yes.
Bailey, do you have any specific questions about app control?
Sure. I was wondering if it was going to be open sourced, But I realized that I missed the demo in app delivery. So I probably need to go ahead and catch up on that, even though the video isn't uploaded yet. And I was also wondering if it's using the same GitOps engine that Argo Workflows and Flux are recently co-developed. Relatedly, I'm trying to figure out how to come up with an install for our suite of processes when we have different things that are like of a global nature, like pod template specs or CRDs, and how, if I have 2 deployments and 2 different namespaces, how do I not hose one or the other? Which seems really relevant to AppCuddle. So I just needed to, I was curious who was involved, and I could haunt those channels.
So app control is not open sourced, and I don't think it's going to be open sourced yet. And if you want to try it, you can download it by using gcloud commands. You can download it and try it. And for the engine developed by Argo or some other, so we are using different backend for deploying the application. And for the part you just mentioned, like you have you have 2 different namespaces. So in app control, different namespaces are treated as different environments. So you need to specify or add those environments by some app control command, and then like separate those different namespaces.
Do we want to do the stand-ups? We got 5 minutes left. And then if we want to do the stand-ups, maybe we can find another forum where we could dig deep into app control for those who are interested.
Yeah, thank you. That gave me the information I was looking for.
I mean, I guess Bailey knows whom to approach, and she can always reach out to Jingfang and get more information with regards to this one. From what I'm hearing, it's very loosely coupled with kubectl or SIG CLI overall. So I think we can bring that kind of discussions offline.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I can answer the question you have for app control.
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you.
That would be probably best. And I think we went through majority of stand-ups, unless I missed someone.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, we when Chen showed up, we were closing the stand-ups, and then we jumped back to his topic, which is perfectly fine, I guess. So that I lost a little bit of control, but I wanted to close the loops on everything. So I'm gonna do last one call. If anyone has anything that they want to share with the group or ask a question, SIG CLI related. If not, I think we can call it a day. Okay, hearing nothing. Thank you very much, folks. Last week we had our bug scrub. If you're interested in what it looked like, there's a link to the recording. If you scroll down the SIG CLI meeting a little bit to the bottom, we will be doing one another next month. Big thanks to Eddie for doing those. And thank you very much for today's discussions. That was a very fruitful meeting today. So have a good one and get the code merging for 118. Bye.
Thanks, Mache.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, team.